Welcome to the Health Powered Productivity Podcast. I'm Marcey Rader, speaker, coach, and author, helping you reclaim your workday before it runs off with your sanity. Here, you'll learn sustainable habits to create a life you love without the overwhelm. Let's dive in. Today, I'm going to share something a little bit different. It is a story that I contributed and was chosen to be in the book All True, All Real, Unbelievable Stories That Will Leave You Speechless. And there are 28 stories from professional speakers around the world, all certified speaking professionals or CPAEs, which is our equivalent of Hall of Fame speakers, from the National Speakers Association. And all of the benefits go to the NSA Foundation, which helps speakers in times of natural disaster where maybe they lost their home or if they've been diagnosed with a debilitating illness or something happens to them that they need financial help. So I was happy to contribute. And here is my story. Training with a Ragtime soundtrack. As an emerging speaker, I had a virtual session lined up for a continuing education provider, an unpaid exposure and marketing opportunity for an audience of 35. 2 days before the event, my husband and I got the call. His mother had been moved into hospice. It could be days, it could be hours. The family was told to get there now. We dropped everything and flew from North Carolina to Indiana. Knowing this training was already scheduled, I contacted the organizer to reschedule. Surely they'd understand, right? Nope. They told me that canceling would require me to pay them because they'd already spent money on marketing for 35 people. Let me repeat. Not only was I not getting paid, but I'd be penalized for missing it, despite a very real family emergency. I had two choices, present or pay, and as a newish speaker, I couldn't afford to pay. I chose to present. Here's the catch. Internet access in my mother-in-law's small town of Kokomo, Indiana, was unreliable. Some family members didn't even have Wi-Fi in their homes. And because I wanted to be close to her and to support my husband, I decided to deliver the session from the nursing home. The facility manager kindly offered me their meeting room. I was grateful, relieved, and hopeful it would be a quiet, professional space. Spoiler, it wasn't. I set up my laptop, trying to mentally shift from grief to game face. A few minutes in, I was finding my rhythm, explaining how to reclaim your inbox and set digital boundaries when someone strolled in and casually started making photocopies. Like I wasn't even there. There I was, mid-sentence, trying to stay engaged while the weekly cafeteria menu was being churned out 5 feet away. But that, folks, was just the warm-up act. A few minutes later, the real entertainment arrived. Ragtime Man. Turns out that the meeting room was right next to the cafeteria, and right on cue, he began tickling the ivories, launching into a full-blown sing-along of 1900s classics. The residents clapped, belted lyrics, and filled the air with unfiltered joy, completely unaware of the virtual workshop happening next door. I kept going, eyes glued to the webcam, pretending everything was normal, while my ears were filled with piano, applause, and enthusiastic renditions of Sidewalks of New York. Eventually, I stopped. "Can you all hear that ragtime?" I asked, breaking the fourth wall. The chat lit up. "Nope, sounds fine. Wait, what ragtime?" Whew, thank you, noise-canceling mic. I took a breath and leveled with them. I told them I was in a nursing home, that my mother-in-law was in hospice, and I apologized for any background distractions. The chat shifted instantly. People shared support, condolences, and even stories of their own experiences with loss. But part of me couldn't stop wondering, what are they thinking? Is this professional? Should I have canceled? Am I really teaching digital wellness while grief is happening just down the hall? Despite the swirl of self-doubt, I pushed through and gave them everything I had. The evaluations were overwhelmingly positive. High ratings, thoughtful feedback, 0 complaints about Ragtime. My mother-in-law passed away a few days later, but not before witnessing something beautiful. Her granddaughter got married in her room in a surprise ceremony, complete with flowers, a white dress, and bedside vows. A moment none of us will forget, in one of the most special wedding ceremonies I've ever seen in my life. I missed her funeral because of another commitment, this time as a closing keynote. Later, Justin Jones-Fosu, who was the opening keynote, told me he would have switched spots if I'd asked. Having spoken for that organization many times since then, I know that they would have let me do that. But asking either of them never occurred to me. Looking back, I have mixed feelings. I wouldn't do it the same way again. But I also learned a lot. That people are more forgiving than we give them credit for. That life doesn't pause for professionalism. That joy, grief, and productivity can and do coexist in the weirdest ways, even when accompanied by ragtime. Because sometimes the show must go on, even when it really, really shouldn't. If you would like to buy the book Speechless, I've included the link in the show notes. In reading the book, I was that annoying person on the plane that laughed out loud, gasped, and also shed a few tears. I highly recommend it for you to hear the wild, bananas, bonkers things that sometimes happen to speakers. Thanks for letting me depart from my normal type of podcast and share this special story with you. Thanks for tuning in to the Health Powered Productivity Podcast. If you got a great tip or insight, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend so more people can learn sustainable habits to create a life they love. Want more like this? Grab my book, Reclaim Your Workday, or connect at helloraderco.com.